beautiful friends. It's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a new brand, a new palette, a first launch from By Us Cosmetics. This is the Garden Busters palette. Now, I'm filming this before the brand does their reveal, and the information that they sent to me with this palette does not have the palette price. I do know that this will be available on August 25th on their website, but I don't know what the price point is for this one. My guess is going to be around the 35-ish dollar range because By Us Cosmetics is a sister brand to Oden's Eye, and that's around the price point for the 15 pan palettes from Oden's Eye. This is a 15 pan eyeshadow palette. Now, the packaging is a little bit different. We do have a thicker palette here. You can tell that they're sisters, not twins, with some of the Oden's Eye style hallmarks. For example, we do have some non-square pans, we have some printed powders, we have some bright, more whimsical artwork, but obviously those things aren't exclusive to Oden's Eye, but it just sort of has that similar vibe. This really bright neon, almost like spray paint graffiti type of style. This is definitely quite a bit of a different vibe from what I expect from a Oden's Eye palette, which is a little bit more delicate, more of a ethereal, definitely still has a whimsical vibe to it, but it's not quite as funky as this. And I like this too. I mean, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know, I like a little bit of everything. So I think this is fun. It's a nice departure. It's a little bit different thematically. But the real question is, how does it perform? How does it stack up? How do the colors work together? And that's what I hope today's video is going to give you information-wise. I will be showing you close-ups of the palette and the packaging. I'll do finger and brush swatches. And of course, I'm wearing the Garden Busters palette on my eyes today, so you'll get to see a tutorial for this blue and purple look. And I do have just a couple of comparisons as well. This color story brought to mind a handful of palettes that I really wanted to swatch alongside this one to see if the color stories are actually as similar as I think they are. So we're gonna go through all of that in today's video. Now, because this is a sister brand to Oden's Eye, my affiliate code for Oden's will work for By Us Cosmetics as well. So if you decide that you want to check out this brand, you can use my affiliate code. It's just my first name, Amanda. And that will save you 10% on the By Us site as well as the Oden's Eye. Let's start first with a close-up look at this palette, and then we'll move into some swatches and an eye look. Here is the palette and the outer carton that the palette comes in. Same artwork on the front, but what we really see a difference in packaging wise is the back of the palette. So the carton has the ingredients list. It has a really extensive ingredients list. So if you have sensitivities, I definitely recommend hanging on to the box so that you can investigate the ingredients thoroughly. This is marked as cruelty-free, but not as vegan. I didn't comb through the ingredients, so I'm not sure which non-vegan ingredients are included, but the website may have more information for us once that's up and running, which hopefully will be soon so that I can investigate as well. And then the back of the palette, it just has the shade names where the box had the ingredients list. Now, I mentioned earlier this palette is thicker than the Oden's Eye ones, so I just wanted to illustrate that here. I know it's kind of hard to tell, especially because I didn't take that Moonwish palette out of its sleeve, but this is a bit thicker. It's not super heavy or anything. I think it's just thicker because it has this book style lid with the lip that has the mirror inset into it. This palette did have some little cute designs printed into the pans. You can kind of still tell, but since I've been swatching this and using it and playing with it, the tie-dye type shades got really mixed up and the prints got a little bit messed up. So I'm going to insert a photo that I took prior to using the palette so you can see the shades Orange Sea and Tomato Juice were both kind of tie-dyed, speckly looking shades. And then all of the mattes have these really cute different little illustrations printed into them and the By Us logo in the middle. Now, I've been using, swatching, testing this palette for a few days now, so I have well and truly messed up all of the little pans. You can still kind of tell the matte ones, but the swirled tie-dyed shades definitely immediately get all mixed up. So I wanted to show you the before and after, I suppose. This palette is pretty much as close to a 50-50 split as we can get as far as finishes go. All of the square pans are mattes and all of the little pentagon shaped pans are shimmers. There are a couple different textures within those shimmers, but all of the mattes feel pretty consistent. And once you see the finger and brush swatches, I think that will be a lot more apparent. But something else that I want to point out is that I think the packaging and the background of this palette make these shades look brighter and more intimidating and more all over the place than they actually are. So I wanted to test that theory by taking a screenshot of the palette and just blacking out the background. Personally, without all of the influence of the bright colors in the background, which I do like, by the way. I want to point out, I do like the packaging. I think it's really fun and whimsical and quirky and funky and cool, and I'm always down for those adjectives in my life. But I think this way, when you purely look at the eyeshadows, it doesn't look as all over the place. It looks a lot more structured and it looks quite a bit more muted. And that carries over to the swatches as well. I think in swatch, this doesn't look as crazy bold. It's definitely still colorful, but there's a more muted vibe to it once you see it swatch. And I think that that's what's coming through when you see the pans with the blacked out background. Maybe I'm just off base here. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I think this swatches a lot more user friendly, a lot more approachable in my opinion than the appearance of the palette gives at just like first glance. Basically, if you're somebody who looks at this palette and says, whoa, way too colorful, way too off the wall, I'm not into rainbow palettes, then I definitely urge you to give this a second look because I think that first impression is a little bit deceiving. The more I get to know this Garden Busters palette, the more I feel like this is a really nice middle ground. Do you remember the shopping cart videos I used to do where I would do a neutral lovers, a color lovers, and then an Amanda cart that was right in between? This is that Amanda cart type of color scheme. Yes, there are some bright colors, and there are actually a lot of colors in here that I don't necessarily gravitate towards. I'm not big on neon yellow. I'm not big on neon green. I'm not big on blues, and we have a lot of those in here, but they're so well tempered with these warm bright colors like that shimmery yellow, the bright orangey peachy tones, and also a couple of really nice neutrals. You know, I love a purple. So all of those playing together make me feel like this is a nice, well-balanced palette that's going to give me some comfort zone type of looks, but also inspire me to step out of my comfort zone a little bit. So that's what I'm doing with my look for this video. I'm going to do some of the purple shades that I definitely feel drawn towards, I feel comfortable with, but I'm going to mix them with some of the blues that are decidedly more outside of my wheelhouse, although the past year or so, I've definitely been experimenting with and learning to enjoy blue eyeshadow more and more. And paired with purple, it's just a winning combo for me. I decided to just go for it, go for something different that I wouldn't usually do, which is taking this matte blue shade called Blueberry and just putting it on my eyelid. Typically, I like to build up a transition shade and take my time figuring out what I'm going to do from there. But I was just committed to going for this blue look. So I'm putting a little bit of a blue base down with this matte blueberry shade, and then I'm going to go back over with some shimmers later. But for now, I'm really mapping out my look with some of these mattes. And I knew that this purple matte shade called Fig was going to be really bold, so I decided to take it super slowly, just the tiniest bit on my brush, and then building up through my crease area. And I'm trying to keep it kind of contained onto the lid because I want the shade to blend out and be sort of blown out without being this big, really colorful, kind of smoky eye look. It's a delicate balance, especially when you are truly making everything up as you go along, like I am. Ultimately, my plan is to mix these two matte shades together, but I first wanted to get a little bit of a base of each color down so that I could direct where that shade was most prominent. And it also helps me to have a guide as I'm building my look. So now I'm going to take a really, really fluffy brush and I'm going to dip into both Fig and Blueberry and just use that really lightly to blend together where those two shades meet in the crease of my eyelid. And I realized that I went more blue on this eye, so then I had to go back and add a little bit more blue on the other eye. Like I said, I am truly just winging it, but this ended up blending so beautifully. I love this blurply color that we came out with. And these mattes are so soft and velvety without being that crumbly pigment type of softness that they just layer and blend super nicely. I feel like they stay put and it's very easy to control where the color is, even with a lot of blending like I'm doing here. I'm really layering, blending, mixing these colors together. And I just felt like the shade stayed true on my eye and layered really beautifully. My experience so far with this palette is that these matte shades are pretty similar to Oden's Eye. I think the Oden's Eye ones are a little bit more thickly pigmented, but that may just be because of the shades chosen too. I do find that these really bright neon leaning type of shades tend to be a little bit thinner feeling, and I can't say for sure until I test more products from By Us, but I do really like the shimmers. I think I prefer the shimmers to the matte in this particular palette, and that's also probably just because of the shades. The shimmers are more my types of shades, and I'm a shimmer girl, so that's no surprise. But all in all, regardless of finish, these blended and applied very easily and they wear really nicely. So I can't complain. I don't know if I'm ready to say, based on one palette, this is the same type of formula as Oden's Eye. That is maybe a little bit too far of a claim, but I am happy with how it went. I'm happy with how these have been wearing. They swatch really nicely. Everything feels consistent and high performing. And ultimately, the main thing that matters is that they look really good on the eyes, at least in my opinion. I love this look. I kept thinking all day that I looked like a cotton candy unicorn, and I don't know if you've ever felt like a cotton candy unicorn, but it's a great way to feel. So I highly recommend that you try it at your earliest convenience. Now that I have been weird, my apologies. Let's just go to everybody's favorite part of the day. At least I know it's my favorite part of the day. It's comparison time. I only have a handful of palettes here that came to mind. The very first one I thought of was this Cloud Forest palette from Nomad Cosmetics because that bright green, bright yellow, brown, purple, blue, really the mattes are what automatically clicked for me for this comparison. Now, obviously, Nomad's Cloud Forest palette is missing some of the lighter, softer shades that Garden Busters has, but in general, I think these are pretty fairly similar. Next up, I pulled out these two Halloween palettes that Oden's Eye did in collaboration with Angie. So the Little Ghost and Trick or Treat palettes combined for this swatch comparison. And again, we've got
a kind of similar color story going here. A couple of key components are a little bit missing here and there, but a slightly closer comparison than Cloud Forest since we have those lighter shades here. And then the final comparison, and the one that I think is the most similar colors overall, is the Fade into Hue palette from ColourPop. Personally, I think Garden Busters has a certain softness to it that Fade into Hue doesn't quite have. It's a little bit more saturated. But in general, I feel like you could get a lot of similar looks from these two palettes. So it's all just down to what you're looking for.
I'm definitely intrigued to see more from this brand. This theming, this artwork, it's definitely really playful, it's quirky, it's colorful, it's bright and bold, and I hope that that is going to continue through their future launches because I think this is really fun, a great balance of a lot of things I like. The shades inside match the colors on the packaging. We have half mattes, half shimmers, some really nice foily metallic shimmers, which are my favorite. We also have a couple of nice neutrals in here that are balancing out these really bright colors. I will say that my least favorite shades in this palette are these more neon yellowy green type of colors, but that's not really personal to the Garden Busters palette. Those do tend to be the shades that I, across any brand, across any palette, just don't really work with a lot. I don't really feel drawn towards a lot. But I think that this brand has a lot of promise, and I'm excited to see what else they come out with in the future. I would love to hear what you think about the Garden Busters palette. Are you intrigued? Are you going to be checking out this new brand? Maybe waiting to see what else they come out with in the future? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Anyway, so, okay, where was I? I don't know. This little lip right here can stop it from closing if you don't get it all the way. Not that big of a deal, just a little packaging pet peeve. I don't think I did a thumbnail. Boy, oh boy. Where was I? I think it's time for a caffeinated beverage and perhaps some chips and salsa. That sounds very good to me today. Okay, I got distracted. I forgot to put my rings on. I take them off when I'm shooting close-ups because my camera will get distracted by my rings sometimes and try to focus on my hands instead of on the product that I'm handling. So I take them off to do my close-ups and my skincare and my dishes, and then sometimes I forget to put them back on. Oops. Take editing, Amanda. Put this in the right order. Sorry, I always do this to you. Say. Why did I don't know. No, that didn't make sense. Try it again. All right. That's it. I gotta go get this edited so that I can post it for you so that you can watch it. That's how this works. Very good. I am wearing pink blush, pink highlighter, and pink lip gloss. Are you impressed? I actually really love this cheek combo. It looks good. Very fresh. Why are there the biggest wasps flying around outside my window? Don't like it. This little blue purple ombre is so cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. I always like it when we hang out here together, and I appreciate you just taking a little moment out of your day to hang out with me. That's cool. That's never lost on me, you know? And I hope that you also know that I love your face. I'll see you really soon. I'm gonna have my videos a little bit on different days this week, but that's because brands are revealing on days that I don't usually post videos. So, okay, brands, it's not me, it's you. Yeah. Love your face. See you soon. Bye.